essentially convicted in the media. You don't have to read but a few articles to see how negative they are about him. He has a right to have this information withheld, brought out in public, so that people can see it's not this neat little package. So people can start to wonder if Brian's innocent. Your Honor, Brian is innocent. Essentially convicted in the media. You don't have to read but a few articles to see how negative they are about him. He has a right to have this information withheld, brought out in public, so that people can see it's not this neat little package. So people can start to wonder if Brian's innocent. Your Honor, Brian is innocent.
Check 1, 2, this ain't no ordinary stream. From the ashes, Phoenix talks manifesting a dream. Got a growing channel, YouTube's where the wisdom resides. For all the Nest members, no truth can ever hide. She's an under-detective on the digital beat, questioning the unthinkable, bringing fire to the heat. With a mind so advanced, highly intelligent and bold, part of the hive mind with birdie stories to unfold. Common sense is a superpower, cutting through the noise, unlocking closed minds, amplifying all our voices. What do you see? Unlocking knowledge for you and me. The nest is rising strong and true. Sharing wisdom, me and you. Clap, clap, clap for the truth we seek. Every answer, week by week.
Well, hello, all you nesters. Welcome in. Yes, Phoenix Talks is live. I am here in the house, and I had a long day, and I had so many messages. Are you going live? Girl, if I had the opportunity to go live all day long, I would. But with being so swamped all day long, I have tons of content to get out to you. I'm still in the middle of processing all these ISP documents. I read through them all. I've categorized them. I've put together the ones that make the most sense to the bigger picture of what's going on. And adding that into the book has not been easy. So I have been swamped. But I went out, got trapped in some horrible weather the other day. And then again, starting, the weather is just not good out there right now where I am. But here I am live, committed to the cause. And I've got two wild things to share with you today. So as I'm going through these documents, I've read through them, processing them, and making both sets of documents and pictures flow together. That's not an easy job. It's not. It's a lot of data, a lot of information. We're talking over almost 1,000 pages plus all the court documents to make them line up to the dates that all these people were interviewed, to all these suspects in these documents. Yes, guys, did you know that there were plenty of suspects in this case? And don't ask me how they got just a Koberger's name. I have a feeling how, but I don't know why they connected his name into this case. We know why, but until we get to the big smoking gun that he is factually guilty, I don't see it happening anytime soon. Now, I can share something else with you today that I did a video on very quickly. There was an order put out today by Judge Hippler, And that order basically states that, both parties, the defense and the prosecution, they both turned in their wants and their needs list for the orders to be put in place for documents to be released. And they're basically saying that both parties, some object to the unsealing of the names and contact information of those individuals. But for the most part, obviously the defense wants everything released and redacted special witnesses. But there were a couple of highlights that I wanted to share. And I know you all are busy, and if you're tuning in and on replay or listening in your car on the way to work in the morning or to run errands, replay group, they're my peeps. But you guys that are here live sharing this moment with us, thank you for being here. You don't have to be here. I could just make a million videos and you'd be like, whoa, there's just no way. There's so much to discuss that only a live will do right now. Now, with that being said, we're looking at the order that Judge Hippler did put into effect. And basically, I could read it word for word, or you can glance at it. But what I'm going to summarize it and basically say that some people have been harassed, threats made, stalking, other concerning behaviors by the media and the public, obviously. And he basically says, although the defendant has pled guilty and been sentenced for the crimes, the parties note that the case remains subject to intense media scrutiny. Well, hello, this guy was railroaded and thrown up under the bus, and the bus backed up again a couple of times and ran him over. The media is such a horrible, horrible example of what they've done to this man. A horrible example, and I'll discuss that in a little bit. So basically, Judge Hippler says that now we're going to go ahead and we're going to protect the individuals from unwanted or unwarranted invasion of personal privacy, as if all these players weren't out there on the media or social media prior, and everybody putting their names out there. So, and tons of videos being made for the last few years. People who follow this case very closely know who all the key players are. And the average person who doesn't won't get in to read these documents. They won't go and look and read and see what's happening and played out in front of our eyes, because they're not going to know who these people are. There's only a handful of creators, guys, that know the key players in this case. And like I said, this was an impromptu live after the weather that I challenged and my day that I've had. I was going to go live in the morning, but I figured I might as well jump on now and get this done with. So basically, Hippler says whether the witness name is already publicly known by media exposure, they've talked themselves, documentaries, books, whatever. All these other records, such as police reports, etc., and witnesses are subject to threats of harassment and so nature, and basically says, which is to be filed under seal, right? The court will review the information and either write a written order as the matter set for a hearing, and response is supposed to be filed in 14 days. So obviously, and I'll show you both documents, I'll show you the defense first, because the defense is easy, right? And basically says, we're okay with everything. We have no objection to unsealing state's exhibits of the photos of the deceased victims and the picture, which all of them are together, which has become very popular. They're okay with the 7 orders of no contact order. The only objection they had is the redactions and anticipated witnesses' names, address, phone numbers, whatever, personal identifying information. They have no objection to the non-dissemination order being unsealed. They have no objection in regards to the S1 exhibit, which is the defendant's 24 supplemental request for discovery. So there was one that I was really interested in, and this was the sheriff's return that was on file. I don't know if you can read this. It's kind of tiny. This was the sheriff's return from a witness and that initials was KSF. And that was the one that was in the repository, getting closer, obviously, on 7/3/25. After he pled guilty, there was a witness. They have no objection to unsealing that, but obviously keeping that person's information private. And then has no objection to unsealing the plea deal, the objections to the jury questionnaire. They have no objections. This was another one right before the odd announcement that he was going to take a plea. There was that sheriff's return of a witness, TAD. Those were the initials of that person. So they have no objection to those, other than the rest is basically, keeping people's personal information secure. But most of these people have been so shared in the media, social media, putting themselves out there. It's been wild, right? Everybody wants their 5 minutes of fame, I suppose. But in regards to these documents filed by Anne, she has no objection. She has absolutely no objection. And she does say a motion for independent analysis of evidence. I would love to be able to see this, because there is continued media attention, including social media, online sleuths, and public harassment reasons. Online media reflects continued attention and comments that may be offensive and harassing and impact safety and livelihoods of people named. They want those redacted. Other than that, they have no objection to unsealing everything. Of course they don't, right? If I was the defense, I wouldn't have one iota of concern for not sharing everything, especially at this point. So obviously the judge says, well, I'll give you 14 days to respond, which means that overlaps with the possible appeal, that not everything's going to be out in the public. So that's one of the ones that really shocked me. And before I get into the 2 secret witnesses buried in documents, which is going to flip you out, I'm telling you, like I said, I've got content for weeks. It's crazy. So when you look at the state's response to regarding the order regarding sealed documents, they've got a big problem here. I'm not going to go over this word for word, but basically in the gist of this document, it says that social media is causing threatening behavior, and people are being identified, physically followed, surveillance regarding this case. And if you're doing some of that shit, guys, knock it off out there. That's just not cool. It's one thing to talk about it, but we're not telling you to go out there and do stupid shit, right? That's just not the goal. People are looking at FOIAing information. We're not telling them to go hire private bodyguards or move residences. That's something that they've wished to do on their own. Well, then you got to wonder why, honestly. So, they're talking about all this. They're talking about this Schofield versus Gilliard case. If you haven't known about Ashley, she was on a TikTok, and she shared what her thoughts were. And Rebecca Schofield, one of the professors, sued the pants off of this girl. And lo and behold, there's some truth coming out to what she said. And they're in the middle of that lawsuit again. And I hope that Ashley gets all the documents, get all the truth, get all the facts. And so the state obviously has no objections to some of these things, but they are heavily objected to a lot of redaction for the witnesses, which is just fully right. And so, other than they're already been shared in the media, they've shared their names themselves, and articles being written about them, all that other stuff. But here's something I found very interesting. The state has no objection to unsealing the court minutes regarding the closed session in relation to the alternative perpetrators. And they gave a specific amount of time, which is about an hour, when they had a closed hearing. But then the state objects to the unsealing of the court minutes from a closed session after they, I guess, took a break or something. And it states, as it involves an ongoing investigative proceeding. Now, they don't say what was being investigated, but they just said they object to it. And then they say that the state has no objection for the rest of the hearing, and that the potential witness's name be redacted from that alternative perpetrator. So apparently, during this hearing, there was a witness. There was a potential witness name that they want redacted. So, which means during that portion of the court, someone had a witness present, and they potentially could be testifying into the alternative perpetrators, which I thought was interesting. So they don't want that person's name unrevealed. And most of the other ones are just pretty much, in my humble opinion, I'm no expert, most of it makes sense for redacting the people's names. It does, to keep them private, to keep it sealed. Even though this is a public court, there's a reason for this. And so I get that. I get that from a standpoint of being on the other side, a plaintiff and a defendant. So I get it. But that's basically what happened today. Now, I want to get into the document that I have been reviewing that just blows my mind when I'm almost finished writing this out. And I had to go back and review this document again because it coincides with another document that I've linked together. And when I look at this document, I think to myself, whoa, wait a minute. You know, not only had the media painted a different picture, the police painted a different picture. You know, the secret witnesses are buried right in these documents. And I get that they want to keep people safe. I get it. But here's the wild thing, is that this officer, Jason House, on March 13th, 2024, okay, that's, wow. That's almost a year and a couple months later. He writes, this is a post review. Pre is before, post is after. So after the event on my body, cam, basically, M140. Now, M140 is, I'll show you what that document is, and you can go search these on Justice for All. M140, let me put an M in front of it. Hold on. That'll be easier to search. M140 on 2/7/23, the report was made, okay? But the actual incident happened on 2/2/23. This was way after the unalivings, folks, way after the murders happened, okay? And the related case is obviously this case with the Idaho 4. He did use his body cam, and Sergeant Hathaway was one of the responding officers. So you go down and you read it, and it says, basically, I'm going to summarize this document for you. This is not the one I really want to talk about. But this document was responding to a single vehicle crash at 500 Queen Road, which, as you know, if you look at the map, it's right there, right next to where 1122 was at the time. It was still there. And it says, while parked in the parking lot of blank Queen Road, directly above the 1122 King Road crime scene, I always call it Queen because that's what it says, MP and AF were attempting to push P's silver Nissan Versa off a frozen patch of the lot. While attempting to push the vehicle, it rolled forward off the patch of ice and down the embankment, crossing past the crime scene tape and striking a tree approximately 20 feet from the house. Now, you know, that bank is a little high up there, and with the snow, I'm sure it would cause an issue. So basically, P stated that he crossed the crime scene tape and placed his car in park, then turned off the engine. P explained that he did not go past the vehicle nor near the home. Blank came in to remove the vehicle while the officers were on scene. No one went past the front of the vehicle or approached the house, but the taped off scene was entered for removal of vehicle. The said vehicle sustained damage to the front bumper, but it was still operable. And basically, he puts the the parties in evidence, and the crash photos are in the case file. Okay, so that was in relation to supplement in the MPD 261. So if you go to 261 and you start reading 261, we just read after M140. But on 261, the sequence number, the same officer, Jason House, says, on 3/12/24, I received an email from Detective Corporal Payne asking for a review and detail of my body cam regarding this case and my involvement. Due to my minimal involvement and lack of discovered information, I had not completed a supplement at the time. That means this guy was on scene at the 1122 road, and he actually had participated but never wrote a narrative report. Ever. This is almost 2 years. Well, I should give him a couple of, you know, if you go to 22, 23, 24, almost 18, 19 months later. So he goes, I've not completed a supplement at the time. So they would tell him, okay, you better put one on file. So I'm sure he went back to his notes if he took any. And then he begins to write. On 11/13/22 at approximately 14:20, which is 2:20, I responded to 1122 King Road. So this was almost 2 hours and 20 minutes after the 911 call that was logged. I responded to 1122 King Road to assist with canvassing the immediate area. Basically, he walked around the area. And I was tasked with conducting door-to-door contact with the blank Queen Road area. So this guy is going door to door to talk to these residents in the area. Then he goes on to say, I was informed that a likely time of incident between approximately 4 to 4:45. Now, this is the time Payne informed that whoever was on charge at the scene of the crime, I want to believe it's Gunderson and it's Mowry and a couple of other people. At the time, they told him that you were looking for anything in between the hours of 4 and 4:45 from these people that you go talk to. I hope y'all are with me still. I know it's late for some of you and I got hiccups. But I was advised that other officers had already covered the south-facing apartments of Queen Road, and I began going door to door on the center of the north-facing portions of the apartment complex with Captain Lanier. Now, Captain Lanier, you know that name, right? We've all talked about him before. He's been in several documents. And so he goes with him to go and talk to these people on the north-facing portions of the apartments in the center, because it was easy to cover the south. So he says, I spoke with several tenants who stated they did not hear anything strange, and their only attention to 1122 King Road was brought upon by the increased police presence throughout the day. I did not identify the tenants. So that means he didn't know who they actually were. He didn't ask for their ID or anything like that. And I spoke to who stated they had not been awake or alerted to any unusual sounds. Okay, people or events. Of the tenants I spoke with and did not identify, all gave a similar account of the standard party activity and nothing out of the ordinary for a typical Saturday night, Sunday morning. Drop a 1 if you're still with me. This gets better. Captain Lanier and I were conducting door-to-door canvassing. Again, they're out together. Our attention was drawn to dark red colored drops and splotches on several portions of the walkway of the building, particularly on the upper level near apartment blank. And after further inspection, I could see this same colored substance appear to be rust, which ran down the walls on several door jambs, as well as sighting throughout the apartment complex. I checked the walkway back from the area and did not see any other red drops or splotches indicating a blood trail toward 1122 King Road. There was no answer at apartment blank. Based off those observations, I determined the drops and splotches to be uninvolved or unrelated. So you mean to tell me this guy sees some sketchy stuff, but there's no testing done? All you have to do is get a swab and put it out there and see if it turns red or pink, right? Nothing. Just from their observations alone, they determined it wasn't important. No banana, guys. No banana. So then he goes on to say, I spoke with tenants in apartment blank who stated they went to bed about 1 a.m. and music was present at 112 King Road. 1122 King Road. During that time, in which they stated was pretty much every weekend. Oh, yeah, it's just the normal thing going on over there. And both tenants said they woke up about 9:30 hours, and there were no strange or alarming sounds. Due to having no information aside from the standard weekend behavior from 1122 King Road, I did not identify the two contacts. Okay. All right. I thought police had to write down everyone they talked to. So that just thought it was weird. So then he goes on to say, I spoke with the tenants in apartment blank, identified as J.G., born in the year 2000, and I.B., born in the year 2003. The two stated they were at a birthday party on Blake Street. Well, hold on a minute. I'm going to have to dig live real quick for this one. Let me go to my handy dandy Google Maps. And let's see where the heck Blake Street is. Blake Street in, let's go, Idaho. Here we go. It says Blake Street. Blake Street. It doesn't show me a Blake Street. It shows me a Blake Avenue. Let's see what we got here. Blake Avenue. That's possible. Okay, so they say approximately 1.5 blocks away. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. So let me show you where that is. So hopefully you can see this map. So Blake, they say they're at Blake. And they say that was the birthday party on Blake Street, approximately 1.5 blocks away, and got into bed early morning hours, estimated to be about 4 a.m. I asked them which way they walked back from the party, and B described them as walking back west on Taylor. So that would be their Blake here. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit bigger for you. So Blake is over here. I wish I had a marker. I wish I could put something there. So Blake is right here. They say they walk from Taylor, cutting up a star path west of Taylor. And since Queen Road is over here, and here's the apartments down here. So they come to Blake, they come Taylor. Wonder why they didn't go. Oh, they probably couldn't cross. And then cutting up the stair path just west of Taylor, the stairs that travel from the parking lot of Taylor to Queen Road. Okay, so they went and they cut up this little building, and right through here, where this little path is, I'm going to blow it up really super big here. So they come up Taylor, they come through these stairs right here, and Queen Road is right here, okay? So they come facing straight the gravel parking lot of 1122 King Road. Both B and G stated they could not see anyone. They did not see anyone outside or pass anyone while they were walking. So that had to have been around the 3, I don't know. It says approximately 4 o'clock. But, so they didn't see anyone outside or pass anyone when they were walking. Okay, so they would have to go right in front of this place. Just right there. I asked if there was still any party music going on at 1122 King Road. When they walked by, they stated there was. There was music going on at about 4 a.m. 4 a.m. to say, well, there was loud music. There was music going on at 1122 King Road. How could they be sleeping like the media and everyone has told us? Oh, they were sleeping, but they could still walk by and hear party music at 4 a.m.? Now make this make sense. And it says it in black and white. When they walked by and they stated there was party music going on at 1122 King Road. But they said nothing seemed out of the ordinary and they did not hear anything that alarmed them in any way. Wow. 2 witnesses that say they hear the music at approximately 4 o'clock, right? They went to bed in the early mornings at about 4. So I would say that put them probably around there. I mean, it's just like 2 to 3 minutes away from there. So depending on when they got home, they went to bed at about 4. So I would give them maybe, 15, 20 minutes. So if they were passing outside of 1122 King Road and they walked right up those stairs that go to that gravel parking lot and then into their Queen Road apartments, they would have seen something. Don't you think that they would have seen something? And then he goes on to say, I spoke with a female tenant of apartment blank who stated she works the red eye and she got home at 6:30 in the morning and had left for work at 9:45 on 11/22. 11/12/22. She stated that there was activity and people coming and going from 1122 King Road at that time, but no one was walking around at 6:30 when she returned home. This is crazy. After conducting the canvass through my assigned area, I cleared the scene. At no time during my involvement in the area did I come across into the designated crime scene. Now, this is what really gets me. Several days later, I passed on my notes to the ISP investigators team assigned with the more thorough canvassing of the area, highlighting the address and names of B and G, who stated they were on foot in the area near the approximate time of the incident, which seemed to be the only substantial contact from my canvass. Wow. That is wild. So there may have been 2 more witnesses that could say, yeah, that house, there was party music going on. Didn't see anything unusual. They weren't part of that group. They wouldn't have known, but yeah, there was music going on between 3:45 and whatever time, but yet you don't hear that on the body cam or the balcony cam they released. They heard party music. Wow. And you're right, Giovanni. You're absolutely right. All these documents from MPD, ISP, and PPD are great. However, the unseen FBI notes contain the big bombs in this case, in my humble opinion. You are 100% correct, because you know that the FBI was like, we're not getting involved in this case. You handle it, state of Idaho. You handle it. We're here to help, but we've got something else going on over here. You take this. You take the lead. And look at what happened, because some of those FBI notes that I shared with you this morning, if you're not watching my videos, wow. Wow. Did you all see that video that I made? I'll give you a real quick overview. I'm going to have to grab the ISP report. Let me grab it and I'll share it with you. What number was it? Anybody remember from this morning? Hold on. That means I'm going to have to go back and grab my video. Let me grab it real quick. Just crazy stuff. Let me see. Hold on. So there is a document that I shared. Actually, I shared 2. Let me go back one more. Where are you? Where are you? Okay. So this document is, shoot, where did it go? Someone asked for it like 5 times. Okay, so it was going up to 95. Okay, so this report is ISP. And remember, you can find all these documents on the website Justice for FOURALL. And this document is, hold on, let me pull it. Let me share this with you guys so you can see this. The FBI was asked to pull reports of any vehicles. This is good. If they could pull any vehicles that were a 2011 to a 2013 white Hyundai Elantra going up Highway 95 with Idaho plates. And those Idaho plates actually belong, I believe, in my humble opinion, allegedly, to someone who drove their car. And let me play the video for you. Hold on. Sorry, I was in my car this morning and my blinker is going, but let me share this with you and you can watch it. Here we go. This is wild. ISP in regards to the Idaho 4 case in Moscow, Idaho. These guys were above professional but I don't know how they came to their conclusion, if they ignored or even if they didn't investigate any further what the FBI gave them in regards to the Hyundai Elantra report. What am I talking about? Well, let's look at it. So this whole entire document, supplement 193 from ISP in regards to the Hyundai Elantra details, was fabulous because they engaged with the FBI and they wanted to know all the cars that were going northbound from I-95 Moscow into northbound into a little town off a highway mile marker 425 in Micah, Idaho. Let me show you what that is on the way to, guys. So you can definitely see where Moscow is and Pullman is, and then go all the way up northbound 95, like you are going to Micah, which it asked for. But what is close to Micah? What is going 95 northbound all the way up into, I wonder, because that report allegedly came back with a Hyundai Elantra in the years they were looking for, perhaps. And I say alleged because we don't know what that so again, we don't know exactly what that report came back as, but the ISP did engage with the FBI. The FBI did give them some data that may be useful to see who and what kind of registration that this car had, who it belonged to, when it was purchased. It was an Idaho plate they requested. I don't think Koberger had an Idaho plate, did he? I wonder. And this report that came back from the FBI specifically said there was a list of this matching vehicle on it. Y'all know the drill. You've been following this for a while. I am on a mission, and this is just another piece of the puzzle that keeps getting more interesting. You know the drill. Comment. Be well. And in the documents, in his own admission, the Goncalves family allowed him to use their family vehicle. Make this make sense. More to come on that ISP report. So stay tuned. Make sure you do your thing, TikTok and YouTube. So there you have it. Very, very interesting things going on. So here's the deal. We can FOIA all the FBI documents that we possibly can, and we are starting to do that. However, it's up to them to say, hey, we will or we won't release them. And typically they don't, especially if there are other investigations going on. So that was just another wow moment today in uncovering new documents. So now we have not one, not two, but three witnesses buried in these documents. One that says they have a text at the time the girls said that they locked themselves inside their bedrooms, at what time it was. And then you have two more witnesses that state that they went to bed at 4 a.m. They walked right by the house, and that there was still a party or music going on at 1122 King Road. They stated there was music going on. That is wild. That is three witnesses so far that say different things according to what other victim survivors have been saying. What are your thoughts in regards to this? Drop them below. Do you guys still want to hear more interesting things that have been found? If so, make sure that you subscribe, hit that button, make sure that you have all the documents. You want to see everything. You can go right to Justice for All, which we have been sharing since it was put up for us to be used to share all the documents. All you have to do is click on Koberger, and then all the documents are there. We are also engaged in the Autism Innocent Project. The Innocent Project, we're trying to get them to take the case on. There's a sample letter to the DOJ asking them to investigate this case, and we will continue to ask until someone gives us a smoking gun and shows us that Kohberger is 100% responsible for this atrocity. So if you have any input, you want to see anything on this website, let us know. We can change it on the fly. It belongs to us. And we are still getting things together. And yeah, I thought that too, Tattoo Girl. I like your name. I thought that too. Yep. So also, yeah, Mika's on the border. Montana makes sense. I was looking to see if anybody in this friend circle had a cabin out there, knew anyone in Wrath Drum or Hayden Lake, any of those areas. And one thing that I will say that I highly question is all these kids were leaving for the holidays, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. They were all going out of town for Thanksgiving because the school had a break. The ISP did their part and pulled records from the area to see if anyone had any injury wounds that would relate to perhaps the blood DNA found at the crime scene that has not been identified, but they didn't expand their search to include other areas of concern like Boise, Ada County, Canyon County, and more. And they should have, because anyone could have fled that area and had injuries. So there's another Lime stream for you guys. I will be back tomorrow. I've got a slew of clues and information to bring you. These documents are, wow, they're just crazy. So like and follow. I hope you guys come back tomorrow. I'll have a couple of lives. We will have scheduled our autism panel. We are still doing that. We are going over the documents of Kohberger. And I'm going to give you a teaser because I hardly ever do this. And I should probably do it more. You know, I'm new to the YouTube side of things. But there is a document in the ISP documents of all mother documents. And do you know how bullied Brian Kohberger was at Washington State University? Not by his peers, not just only his peers, but by others. Yeah, and I'm going to show you the proof. Y'all, be well. Take care. Phoenix out.
Listen up. The ashes stir, phoenix wings unfurl, seeking truth beneath the blur. Turnings for the lax to meet the blur. Out the flames I rise, wings scorched but unbroken. Truth's the blaze I wield, every rhyme's a token. In the nest we move, hearts stump in unison. Searching for the light where the system cuts our wisdom. Built on lies and steel, they boxed us in cages. Now we break the locks, rewrite history's pages. Innocent until proven guilty, that's the oath we recite. Under this constitution we ignite the night. We rise like a phoenix and sink, we claim the street.
Essentially convicted in the media. You don't have to read but a few articles to see how negative they are about him. He has a right to have this information withheld, brought out in public, so that people can see it's not this neat little package. So people can start to wonder if Brian's innocent. Your Honor, Brian isn't.